Great. Okay. So, yes, so let's get started. Welcome everybody to the first in a series of talks called STEAM Machines. We are very excited to share this with you because it's something that I think the OAO has been really passionate about for a long time. But with the entrance of Cintia Duran into the OAO team, we have a living, breathing embodiment of the combination of art and science. So very excited to have her expertise on the team and then here as well to give this talk today. So when I think about the combination of art and science and why it's so important to think about this, I think a lot about strategic science communication. And I think it all kind of funnels down to that. You know, who is your audience? What are they interested in? What are your goals? What are your objectives? And what are you really trying to do? What is the impact that you're trying to have? And in a lot of cases, giving a lecture, doing some kind of hands-on activity, those things that we kind of think of, the things that come to mind first when we think of doing some kind of science communication activity, are really beneficial for certain communities. But in other communities, they're not. And so what this whole talk series is meant to do is to get us to think outside of the box, get us to think a little bit more creatively about the work that we're doing so that we might be able to engage a larger fraction of our communities and maybe reach some new people that we haven't been able to reach before. So we'll be doing these talks throughout the year. I think maybe doing one a month for at least the next few months, if not continuing throughout the entire year. We'll see how things go and then the speakers we can find. But the purpose of this is ostensibly to give the National Outreach Coordinators some ideas to use for their Knox funding scheme projects that they can work together and apply for in the future when that becomes available. But this is also something that can be used and implemented on a really wide scale. So it's not just something for the Knox. It is something that is for every science communicator, I think, should be thinking about this in the back of their minds. And if not in the forefront of their minds as well. So with that, I want to welcome always Cintia Duran to take the stage and talk to us about art and science communication.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Again, welcome everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Thank you for being here. We know that sometimes it's hard to get the schedule and the time in different parts of the world so that we all can agree to be in a not terrible times for everyone. So thank you for your time and for your effort to be here. The main idea for this talks, as Kelly said, is that we would have like a continuously subjects of treating this STEAM kind of ways of communicating astronomy or communicating science in general. So for this specific first event, we wanted to start with art, considering that, well, I'm already at the office, and this is some of the things that I've been developing through the years. But this is one of the few things that we wanted to start like getting directly into the creative thing and why we decide to do this as a STEAM instead of just STEM sort of thing. So I'm going to share a little bit of my presentations. Oh my God, what? I can't. Oh, I can't see it. Wait. Okay, let me see. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, my computer is saying that I had to quit Zoom for a few seconds to restart and then to be able to share. So I'm gonna leave for a few seconds and I'll be back. Sorry.
Sometimes technology conspires against us. I'd like to make a special shout out to Anthony, who's here at 3 in the morning. Thank you for being here, despite the hour.
Thanks, Kelly. It's 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. Start of the weekend.
A good start to the weekend, I hope.
Yes.
There you go. Sorry, I'm back. Okay, I think I can, yes, now I can share my my screen. Okay. Does everyone see the art and science presentation?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you can see it.
Now you continue to see it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
We wanted to start.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. So we wanted to start with this art and science, and the main idea with this talk, it's going to be, I'm going to try to have it not as a very long and extensive talk. Is the idea is not exactly not a workshop, not a webinar, but mostly a conversation between all of us, so that we can share a few of these concepts that we sometimes we hear and but not necessarily are part of our vocabulary. So I wanted to share a few things. Also, I would like to share to you a few of the work of some artists that work in science and the relationship with science and art, so that we can either talk about it or showing you a little bit of the different frameworks that you can actually do with art concerning the relationship that we have with science. So the name that I decided for this particular talk was Multidisciplinary Psychom, because one of the main ideas, or my main ideas, is reinforcing the concept of how, with multidisciplinary or different efforts from different disciplines, we can actually develop better projects, stronger projects that can be more approachable, more interesting, but definitely could have more of a wider and greater impact in our audience. Let's go a little bit. So first of all, I want to say a little bit about me. My name is Cintia Duran, as most of you know. But for people that you don't know me, I'm from Mexico. I recently joined the Office for Astronomy Communication as part of the International Astronomical Union. And we have our office here at the National Astronomical Observatory in Japan, which is like our institution that hosts all of our outreach efforts for IAU. So I'm a science communicator, but I'm also an educator, and usually my work goes for different ways. My background goes from sometimes a little bit of film, of video, sometimes in photography. But then at some point, I started doing a lot of research and how this kind of communication can be a tool for science. I've always been around science. I usually, my own artistic work usually takes the little different lines around planetary science, which is one of the things that I'm personally more interested in. But through the years, I've had these different experiences developing educational programs and working with institutions and science institutions, trying to understand different ways of how can we talk and how can we take their information and their research to the general audience, so that it becomes a little bit more accessible. But also, this can be definitely a way of people understanding some of the the science that is being held right now, not just the general ideas that we usually know about astronomy or science in general. So one of the things that I'm more interested in right now is the use of the different languages. We are conducting an incredible research about how, through the use of different languages around the world, we can actually understand our communities better, and we can actually design better strategies for either education or science communication. So a little bit about me. This has everything to do about me, and maybe not. This is the Agenda meteorite. This is a meteorite that fell in Mexico in 1969. And for many, many years, this specific rock, space rock, had been one of my main focus in my life and on my artistic work, but mostly became one of this important, I don't know how to say it, important points that direct my life through the design of educational strategies and science communication, specifically for astronomy, specifically for planetary sciences. I'm not going to go deep into this project, but this is part of a project that I developed a few years ago. It's kind of an ongoing project because the love I have for this space rock is definitely not going to end. The project I developed for this specific rock was called Love Letter to a Space Rock, which basically states exactly how you hear it. I did a love letter to this meteorite, and it became this huge project that involved photography, installation, sound, obviously writing, because this entire exercise was about the writing of the love I felt, and I wanted to share about this meteorite to everyone else, to the general public and to the world. So let's go back a little bit to the what is a STEAM. Before I go, I just want to say, Kelly, I'm not looking either other messages or the chat. So for some reason you stop hearing me or you need anything, you can just let me know. Okay. So let's go back a little bit of what is STEAM. The STEAM is an educational kind of a methodological concept that it became huge around the 2000s. But basically, it's something that integrates different disciplines, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And one thing that is important to say that unlike the STEM, like the one that I mentioned before, that uses these letters without the A of arts, this use with the STEAM recognizes that creativity and artistic thinking are also essential for the scientific and technological education, innovation, and propagation of science in general. So this is why one of the reasons that we wanted to have this specific kind of theme around these talks through the year, because this is some of the things that we are actually trying to pursue as an office, is something that we want to share to all of our NOCs and all of the people in our community, so that it can become tools so that you can also use in your different audience. So talking about a little bit of what is STEAM, STEAM emerged on an evolution of STEM. Like I said, is a term that was very popular around the 2000s. It started in the US to encourage scientific and technological careers. But through the times, people started noticing, either mostly educators and artists, they started seeing the need to include arts in this platform, to engage, to enhance creativity, critical thinking, and different ways to approach either education or general problem in general. So the inclusion of the arts in STEAM doesn't just mean drawing and painting, and that is one of the train of thoughts that I want to continue, and at some point maybe could be something that we can have during the discussion part. And this is very, very important to me. And this is why one of the reasons I decided to show a few examples of these artists that I will be showing you today. because I want us as a community to understand or to know a little bit more about what we mean or what we can have with this relationship of art and science. Something that I've noticed through the years working around this is that usually when we say art and science, one of the first things that we can come up with is the, oh, I'm going to paint. I'm going to paint, usually it's either planets or galaxies, or usually what people think is like, oh, I'm going to have an art and science thing and I'm going to give kids some color so that they can draw. And it's completely understandable, but one of the things that is important to know is that art is a lot of range of things, and actually how art is represented and how art is used these days is incredibly wide, and the kind of languages that you can develop through art are actually very, very diverse, and there's a lot of technology involved that you can actually be using through art. So this is one of the things that I want to put out strictly. There's obviously there's a lot of artists that does work with drawing and painting, but I'm not going to focus on that right now because I actually want you to show, I want to show you other kinds of arts, and understanding that art in general has its own language and its own professional way of developing. And the people who try to come back and have this this path roads crossing with science are also using all of these incredible strategies that they already use in art, in contemporary art, actually. So as an example in the presentation, I put something that, for example, we could use this sort of design thinking when it comes to designing a spacecraft, because not only engineering is and calculation, but also it's important to understand ergonomics, the interface design, and many other things that are actually art involved, but sometimes we don't think about it. Sometimes art not necessarily has to be something that you put on a wall and on a museum. Art can be seen in so many different ways of understanding on how you see the world and how you transform your own mind and your own narrative into mostly like some sort of point of view in the reality that you live in. So why do we think that this is important? We think that this is important because it encourages creativity in science and technology. It makes science and technology more accessible. It allows for new forms of scientific communication and exploration. It promotes interdisciplinary collaboration, which is one of the things that I will continue to say until the end of times. It also creates new ways of science outreach. Art allows us to connect with the public in a more emotional and intuitive way. So I start this before I can show you a few of the works that I wanted to show you, asking this question, and maybe this is something that we can discuss later during the questions. But this is, how can we effectively integrate art into science outreach? And I have a few points. The main idea with these points that I will be sharing is just a specific guidelines on different things that we can start like digging and having a use to our own ways of designing. It's important to say that this particular points that I will be sharing is not something that is like in stone graved. This is something that I've come up to through the years that I think is still needs to change in different ways. And definitely is this ideas or this point that I will be sharing is something that even if we're talking about an international way of addressing this matter, it's always important to understand how these concepts and how these points adapt to your own community. None of our communities are the same. The regions are not the same. The nations are not the same. The language is not the same. So try to keep in mind always this before designing any kind of science communication and any kind of approach to your audience, because at the end of all of this, the most important thing is that we understand who are we talking to, and the way we design this and the way we decide how are you going to approach this public is one of the things that are going to make it either accessible or have a barrier or an extra barriers to our understanding between us. So one of the things that I start saying is that we can use art as a bridge to make science accessible. And what I mean with this is that art has a specific power to visualize complex scientific concepts. And it's something very beautiful. And I don't think this is just something that that artist has this magical way and they get some like incredible inspiration from, I don't know. Actually, artists are just people, normal people, like just like scientists are just people, and part of a society, and have a family, and have thoughts, and have a life, and have experiences. So the one thing that I think that makes artists a little bit different in that matter is that artists maybe have a chance or give themselves a chance to transform that experience and those ideas and those forms into into something else, into any other kind of language that can talk about the same matter in a different way. So in this sense, art has this particularity that can be used to transform the same concept into a different way of saying it, such as if you want to think it in a way, it's definitely something like when you learn a new language. And when you learn a new language, you don't just learn the words or the grammatics to translate one thing to another. In order to actually learn a language, you need to understand this culture that you're talking to. You need to understand not just like A and B and C and how does it work. You need to understand why they talk the way they talk, and this usually has like a more of a cultural approach on understanding what is the things that we are saying. And in that sense, art has that specific way of thinking too. So, and this can be also a way to help the people understand and make like sometimes very complex concepts into some of this. And the image that I put here is one specific sculpture that is here in Tokyo from a Japanese artist, and he is one of this artists that I want to show you, which I think is an incredible way and a very sensitive way to connect with very specific ideas that somehow poetic can be translated into something that can be either physical or something that actually exists. So before coming to that, I want to, let me see, how do okay. Do you see the tree?
No, no tree.
No? Are you still seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, let me, your screen sharing is paused. No, I don't want to pause it. How do I? Oh, yes. Okay, where is the tree? Here is the tree. Thank you. Okay, now you see the tree.
Not yet, unfortunately. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh wait.
Are
There.
you
See
sharing?
the tree
No, there's the tree.
inside some boxes?
Yes, exactly. So the work of this artist is this specific installation is something quite simple. The main idea or what happened here is that he was walking through Tokyo one day and he saw this tree that was just chopped or cut off by some gardeners. So what he saw on the ground was just different pieces of the tree, and he decided to take it. So this tree was completely already chopped in different pieces, ready to take just to the trash or to do something else. And he decided to take it and to present it again as a tree. So what we see here is just a very, very simple idea. And what he did, he put this different pieces of the tree inside these acrylic boxes and presented it as an art piece. So in a sense, you might say, well, why would you do such a thing? And this is exactly what I'm saying when I think this the thing that artist does is a way of stopping a little bit in the reality and trying to see something that is there, but not necessarily we're seeing it. And here you can see like the different pieces, but from one perspective, you can actually see the whole thing that actually becomes a tree. But the reality is that this tree is chopped in different pieces and just presented this way. The entire part of the exhibition, because it was already chopped and because it was inside these boxes, the pieces of the tree actually ended up dying. And what came next, and the idea that he actually wanted to do, is that after this tree kept dying, the ecosystem that created inside the boxes started growing, and that is what started happening. And this is something that happens in nature, and we usually don't see it inside a museum or inside a gallery. And that is the specific part where I think is the interesting way of seeing how art can happen. What we're seeing this is something that completely normal that we might see every day. We walk through the streets and we see the tree that that it was chopped off, maybe because it was like in the middle of the street or was like damaging something, and then we see that it might died, and then it will go to the trash, or it will become something else because it's a nature thing. So, but at the same time, he saw this specific thing and decided to put it on a museum. And just by that specific act, and just by that exercise of taking something and move it into something else, it made it an art piece. But not only that, it made it something that people might think of. And sometimes art is exactly that, something very, 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 very complex to make something very small and particular, which is just provoking a thought, provoking an idea around what he is trying to guide the audience to. And I wanted to show you this particular piece because I think it gives us this sense of understanding that sometimes that art can be basically anything, but in that sense, it gives us a lot of freedom on how we can narrate these sort of things. Okay, I'm gonna share again the presentation. I don't know how to go back. Yes. Here your screen that I'm sharing. There. So let's go back to the presentation. All right, come on. I said, let's go back to the presentation. Oh, the presentation is saving it. Oh, there you go. Okay. So another different sorry, I'm getting the I'm getting the notifications of people joining in. So the second point that I think is very, very important when we talk about art and the relationship that we have with science is also something that can foster collaborative projects between scientists and artists. And when I say this is, I think this way of working as a team is something that the thing that I started saying, the use of multidisciplinarity and the use of working as a team can become one incredible tool in the way we design the communication strategies for any kind of subject, actually. Because when we allow for multidisciplinary problem solving, it opens new possibilities for communication and innovation. We have this dialogue between these different fields, and that always leads to different incredible fresh ideas. If we continue to do the things the same way, we will always get the same results. And one thing I think this is not something that we should be addressing all the time in our own ways of communicating, but if at some point we understand and we get into a point where we need to do something else and we're not really sure on how, my main thought would be invite someone else. Work with someone that you will not necessarily work. And this is not just around an artist or people who work with art. I mean, in general, try to have a conversation and try to have people joining your project that is not necessarily a science enthusiast, or not necessarily an astronomer, not necessarily someone who has already knowledge around it. But maybe you can work with people who are not involved at all, but could have a different way of thinking, could have a different perspective on the things that you already are such an expert that you might be missing. And that is an incredible way to work with people when you collaborate and you try to listen to the experiences that this other person have or this other team has. It becomes a quite an incredible way, because it gives you the opportunity to see your own project or your own words or your own goals in a different way. And you can actually start seeing whether it is working or why is it working or not working. So I think in a sense, this way of collaborating is super, super important. So the artist that I just show you, he usually says something that to me is very, very beautiful. He says that the truth resides in places that are invisible. Once you are aware of that, there is a different world out of sight. You will be living in a different way. And this is a little bit of what I'm trying to share with you with with the project that I share with this trip. Usually the kind of art pieces that this artist does is around this sort of thing, that his ability of looking beyond or contemplating something that usually we will not stop to see. Usually with a regular life, we don't necessarily have the chance to think about things and to try to understand something as minimal as a ray of light, or as a sound, or as something as beautiful as a fish swimming in the ocean. So in this sense, I think the ability or the awareness that some artists share with us is really, really important. Because once you see someone that stops between all the chaos, between all the sounds and everything that is going around us, and you see someone who just stops and looks something, usually what happens is that we stop too, and we look to that, and we look as well, because we want to know, what is that? What is it that this person is looking, that is making it just stop and see? And this is what he says. It is a way of seeing what is invisible. And that is a really important and incredible tool. And it's a powerful tool to have, and something that we can have for ourselves, for our own way of living our lives, but also the way we design things. And definitely can be something that we can share to our communities. And this is a way of seeing things and understanding science in a beautiful way that can also give us this ability to see the invisible. To me, that is one of the beautiful things about science. I think science has given me and many, many others this beautiful ability to see what is out there that not necessarily we see, but it makes us a way to understand who we are and why are we here, and what all of this existence around us, why it is becoming or helping us become what we are. So continuing with this, the next point that used is something that is related to this that I'm saying, this way of seeing the world, but also in a way it's just not the way you see it, but also the way you tell it to everyone else. One thing that I told you about this project that I made a few years ago, the love letter to a space rock, is exactly this sort of thing. Science can often feel detached from abstract, but storytelling, telling a story, is always going to be something that we humans understand. And telling a story not necessarily has to be in your own language, and not necessarily has to be in a particular way. There's millions of ways of telling stories. And I'm not really sure why, but humans have developed different incredible ways to tell us stories, and not just through art. We can do it in many, many, many ways. I think science tells different stories as well, but sometimes we're not giving us the opportunity to see it, or to see it in a more narrative way. So I think that by weaving narratives about scientific discoveries, innovations, or even scientific process, artists can help us to make these stories feel a little bit more real, more reliable, and definitely more exciting on what is happening, not only in in the physics, in the reality of our Earth, but like life in general. So for this kind of thing, I want to show you something that is very, very incredible. Again, let me go to the sharing part of my screen. Where is the Yucatec? Where is the other one? Let me, okay, should be here. This is the, come on, it was supposed to be here. Oh, it's right. Okay, again. Hating this technology. I think so. Are you seeing the inspired by true events things? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna play just a small part of the video. We're not gonna see it all. I can send you the links because it's really incredible. This is a short film made by a woman in Ghana. But I'm gonna give you all the links for the images and the artists that I'm showing you. So I'm just gonna put a little bit so that you can understand what I'm trying to say when I'm talking about narrative.
Astronauts are dropped into their spacecraft. They're going through the final checkout to be ensure they're really ready to go. If all goes well, Apollo 11 astronauts Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins are to lift off on the voyage man always has dreamed about. Next stop for them, the moon. 9:32 a.m. Eastern Time. That huge 36-story high launch vehicle is scheduled to thunder the light, pushing the astronauts into temporary orbit around the Earth. 2.5 hours later, another rocket burn will send the spacecraft on its way to the moon. And then on the Sunday afternoon, the landing on the moon.
I'm going to show you all because it's really beautiful and you need to see it in the comfort on your own time. But I wanted to show you this. And let me go back to the presentation. To keep telling you about this project, and this is what I mean when I'm talking about a little bit about storytelling. In this specific example, it's a short film that there's a specific term that we could say it says speculative fiction. And speculative fiction is basically when we see a movie, any kind of movie, like Avengers or whatever, it's a work of fiction because it's something that is not real. It's a story that someone wrote. It's based on a comic book or it's based on a story, and we construct all of these things in order so that we can see it. And we go to the movies and we see and we hear the story and we engage with these characters and we do all of these things. This is a work of fiction. But in cinema, there are a few ways of narrating that is not just documentary or fiction. There are actually things that go in between. And this is one of these beautiful things that is actually based on a true story of a school teacher in Africa that was trying to train one of his students, a 70-year-old student with different ways that he had in their own community. And this short film gets out or expands through this story and try to make this specific idea kind of in a situation, presenting it as something that is true, but at the same time playing with the idea of thinking whether this was something that happened or this was something that it was not. At some point, this story was really famous, and to me, it's an incredible way to try to understand why do people do what we do, and why are we so engaged in space, and we're so engaged in this astronomy or stars concepts, and why do we want to be close to this as much as we can. So I will be giving you this link. I would love for you to see it, but this is one of the things that I want you to understand. Like we can have this kind of fiction mixed with technology and art, and we can use it to envision specific ways to share a story. And sharing the stories is going to be one of the most beautiful ways that we can talk about science. And we've all gone through this. I mean, I know, I'm pretty sure most of us here, we know the work of or all these incredible science communicators through the years, and that have done things in movies, in science, in series, in books, and we follow them. And we follow them because they have learned a way to tell us these stories about science, but also stories that are told in a way that you can relate to that. You can actually see yourself playing with this. You can actually hearing yourself saying the same words or trying to do the same things. So this is another way that we can address, that we can have this understanding on how we're creating things in a way that we can use storytelling or narrative to do these things. So continuing to go through this, I wanted to go again to these ideas, and it's okay. Wait, I have sorry, and is Come on. Oh, sorry, I'm not seeing anything on my screen. Yes. Okay. So it's the use of art to encourage critical thinking and dialogue. And this is very, very important because art can be also a way to have people making questions. And I know we've all gone through this memes when you say that there's some artist that does this or that can like put whatever they want in galleries or museums, and people say like, oh, what is this? This is a joke. I can do this. And most of the time it is true. But there's also an idea of the fact that when you do something like that, you ended up uh, mostly you can make people think or be mad or get angry or even have a question of why. Why did you decide to put that on that wall? Or why did you decide to do that thing? Or why did you decide to put on, I don't know, paint all over your body or whatever? Or why did you decide to make a love letter to a space rock, which is one of the most weird things that you could do? So this is exactly why it also can be a tool for that. The weirdness sometimes, and not necessarily about the weird things, but the way you present things. When you present something, any theme, any concept, or any idea in a way that people are not really used to, or with a language that people are not really used to, at first they will have to adapt, and they will try to understand. And the first thing to try to understand something is usually making questions. So you can use art as a tool that can invite the public to engage in this different discussions about ethics and technology and everything that is happening at this moment. And this is very, very incredible because not only makes it visual, it also makes it a way of putting it in your mind. Not necessarily has to be something that is like super beautiful. Sometimes art can also be something that is very grotesque, very dark, terrible in many ways. And that also can be a powerful tool to get your information out there. I'm going to share something again, like I was saying, this is going to be a talk about sharing the work of different artists. Then now I lost it again. What is it? The economy. Yes. No, I lost this something. Okay, this I'm also going to show just a few part of this. This is a very different kind of project, not a grotesque one, actually one of the beautiful and aesthetic ones. But I think it gets the point that I'm trying to make, that we can also use it as a way to ask questions, either for technology and for science.
EcoMI is an experimental collaboration between designers and scientists working in synthetic biology. In 2009, 7 Cambridge University undergraduates spent the summer learning the tools of synthetic biology, which is essentially a new approach to genetic engineering. Using standardized sequences of DNA in a format that's called biobricks, they learned to engineer bacteria. They designed their own biobricks using genes copied from existing organisms, inserted them into E. coli, and created bacteria that secrete colors visible to the naked eye. EcoMI went on to win the International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition at MIT in 2009.
And joining us now is one of the winners of the iGEM competition. Welcome to Science Friday, Ms. Mullen.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm part of the Cambridge 2009 iGEM team, and our project was called EcoMI. And what we were trying to do is to improve bacterial biosensors. They're bacteria that can tell you the concentration of a pollutant in water. And they can do this because inside them they have a detector. So we developed two different parts, the sensitivity tuner, and this actually tells the detector when to turn on and when to turn off. So you have control over what level of the pollutant you're detecting.
And how does the bacteria show that it's on or off?
We use something called a color generator, which means that our bacteria changed color when the detector got switched on.
Wow, so they light up in a different color.
They actually change color visible to the naked eye.
So let's say if you put a swab of the bacteria in the polluted river, bacteria would just change color.
Yep, exactly. Though you'd probably want to put a sample of your water on a bacterial plate, maybe not the other way around.
Well, how would you envision something like this being used other ways in the future?
So again, I'm going to show you just a small part. I can give you the link so that you can look at this project by yourself. Let's go back to the presentation. So this is another way of trying to on the use of art and the use of design and the use of visualizations and the use of collaboration with scientists to get this main idea. And as you can see, the difference and the projects that I've shown you are completely one place separate from the other, and this can go into many different formats on how you can present art. If you see this specific video for this project, you will see that they presented the project as some sort of art pieces that in a small object that resembles some sort of like how do you say it, like a very expensive rock. But the main idea with this project is not just the way you present it as in a beautiful thing, is the entire scientific research that goes behind. And that is another way of understanding art also, that art is not necessarily just the part that goes in the wall of a gallery of a museum or the art piece. Art can also mean the method. And this is something that relates to science completely. We for many artists, the way they design and the way they create, and the most important part is the methodology of it. And usually the methodology is what you can show to the public and what you ended up presenting as an art piece. So this is something that I wanted to be like very punctual about it, because not necessarily has to be about the last part of the project. Can also be a way of involving people in the whole process of this designing thing that can be part of an art process, but also a community sort of process. So getting back again on the project that I show you about the Afronauts, is something that is very important in these days, is to, and not just these days, in general, and the kind of projects that we develop, and we as a science communicators and outreach practitioners and science and astronomy community, I think it's very important that we promote inclusivity and cultural representation. And we like art, the many different ways of art, and not necessarily we have the same taste for painting or music or books or I don't know, or dancing. We are quite a different people all around the world, yet there are many ways that we can actually connect. In my case, I can say for me, music is one of the, or probably the unique universal thing that can actually go beyond our universe and space, and might be able to give a message, because you don't need language to have understanding of a song, or having a feeling with a song, or having the need to continue to listen to it. And in that sense, art is a universal language, and we can integrate it into science outreach, and we can help it design and build this or destroy this gap that sometimes we create with the general society or communities and science. So using artistic methods can also resonate with diverse cultural groups and can also makes people more inclusive, and can helps us to see how science relates to our own lives and to our own communities, and can also be an incredible way to remember, either for scientists to remember that they are part of the society, and for the society to remember that science is in every part of our reality, and it's something that is always around us. And for the project that I want to share with this specific part, because before finishing this, I want to share one last project. Let me go. Here it is.
Finance, we
No, sorry. This is not.
The Bauhaus teachers Josef and Annie Albers also helped Bauhaus ideas spread across Latin and South America. The couple traveled extensively through Mexico, Cuba, Peru, and Chile, frequently guest teaching. Annie Albers fell in love with Mexican weaving techniques and traditional South American textiles. Back at Black Mountain College, she passed on to her students what she'd learned. Mexican artist Amor Munoz cites Annie Albers' textiles and prints as a major influence on her work. On the Yucatan Peninsula, she founded Yuca Tech, a social project for Mayan women that marries tech and tradition. These seamstresses used to work in a textiles factory that closed down. They've now found new ways to use their skills.
This project is collaborative and participatory. The basic aim is to apply the do-it-yourself spirit to traditional crafting and the maker movement, closing the gap between artisanal creativity and technology. All the pieces they're making here, this panel and the electrical sombrero hat, it all works with rechargeable batteries.
The solar panels are connected to each other using conductive steel thread, forming an electrical circuit. The women combine the conductive thread with henequen, a type of agave that grows in the Yucatan Peninsula. Once a solar panel has charged for about 5 hours during the daytime, it can provide enough light for 2 nights.
It's really useful at night when it's pitch dark in my village. It's on all night, and it's so useful when I need to go to the toilet or hear a strange noise. It's a bright light. It's very useful.
Amor encourages the women to feel proud of their skills and to find creative ways of using them.
How does your husband feel about you understanding how solar power and LEDs work and what a battery is? What you've learned are the basic principles of engineering, even if you don't realize it.
It's a great advantage for me. What I've learned and made will help me in the future.
Working with new materials and products is providing these women with a new livelihood.
We're thinking of making new products and taking them to market so people can buy them.
These days, not much traditional henequen is grown in the Yucatan region. The market is dominated by imported synthetic fiber from China. Technology can be used to ensure that old-fashioned skills aren't forgotten. It can help keep a craft and a tradition alive. So why not use it? Amor Munoz has found a way of fusing technology and textiles to secure a professional future for Mayan craftswomen.
Okay, so again, I'm not gonna see it. I can show you, I can share the link with you. Where is the presentation? So again, this is another example that I wanted to show you to continue the conversation, how we can include and how we can work with our communities to develop projects together. One sense that, and something that is very widespread around the world, is that usually when we do science communication, or when we try to approach astronomy education in a way, it's usually with the sense of, I know this science, I know this astronomy, and I'm coming to your space to teach you something. But the main reality is that usually that approach doesn't really go well, and doesn't go beyond the information that we want to share with the people. And we try to have a different approach when we design things and we create things together with the people that we're trying to communicate to. Because then it's not just something that we want to say to them, and it becomes something that we want to say together, and it's something that it becomes like a dialogue of how can we learn from them, and how can each other start building and start giving this different knowledge that we can share, and together we can build something else that can be useful for all of us. So those are a few of the projects that I wanted to share. There's a whole incredible wide of artists that are working right now in all different parts of the world. I just show you like a tiny little bit, because I wanted to give you a small peek of the sort of thing that are happening in the world, and so that we all make very, very aware that the way we communicate things have many brands and many branches, and how language and knowledge and approaching to communities can be seen and can be done. So we don't have as much time as we want. This is just a talk, it's not necessarily like a workshop. But the main idea with this specific talks is that you can have a little peek of what is happening around the world, the different ways that we are doing, and maybe you can find something that you've been trying to do that maybe you were thinking like, oh, maybe this was like too complicated, or this is like something that I don't know I should be doing. So this is like my small way of saying, yes, you can. You can do whatever you want. You can explore as much as you want. You can work with wherever or wherever you need in order to accomplish a wider reach and a wider inclusion to your own communities, wherever that is, because understanding that our communities are so different and so unique is one of the things that are actually going to get us to get the information out there. So right now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, so to see if some of you, we have a few minutes, that if anyone has any comment or questions, and we can have a little bit of a discussion. We don't have that much time because it's a little bit late around here, so it's past midnight. But yes, so let me